The Galactic Council had always seen Earth as a valuable ally. For years, humanity had proven itself capable of doing the impossible, whether in diplomacy, science, or warfare. Earth's leadership was respected, though some alien races looked down on humans for their unpredictability. But nothing could have prepared the galaxy for the announcement that shook every planet. Earth was pulling out of the Council. It started on a quiet morning. In the high chambers of Earth's capital, President Anna Richardson stood before a room of reporters. The tall woman, with short dark hair and a calm demeanor, looked every bit the part of a leader. But her eyes told a different story, a story of anger, frustration, and the pain of a long-developing decision. She stepped up to the podium, cleared her throat, and spoke in the voice of someone who knew her words would change the universe. Fellow citizens of Earth, and to all galactic citizens listening, she began. Today we stand at a crossroads. After much thought, debate, and consultation, I am announcing that Earth will no longer be a member of the Galactic Council. Our relationship with the Council, once a beacon of hope for many, has become one of oppression. We will not be dictated to by those who do not understand us, nor will we be bound by rules that do not serve the best interests of our people. A hushed silence fell over the room. Her speech had been planned for weeks, but the weight of the words was still heavy. The room full of reporters, diplomats, and alien representatives held their breath. They couldn't believe what they were. Hearing Earth was leaving the most powerful political body in the galaxy. What did this mean for the future? As of today, President Richardson continued, we are severing all ties with the Galactic Council. We will no longer accept orders from those who do not have our best interests at heart. We will stand alone if we must. Earth is done being ignored. The message was clear. Earth had made its decision. It wasn't going to back down. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. The media was in chaos, and every station broadcast the announcement in real time. On the streets, people gathered in groups to talk about what had just happened. Some cheered in excitement. Others were filled with worry. But all of them were stunned. General Jackson Monroe, the leader of Earth's military, watched the news from his office. He had seen this coming, but even he was shocked by how quickly the decision had been made. He was proud of his president for taking a stand, but he also knew the dangers that could come with it. Do they even know what they've done? Monroe muttered to himself, pacing in front of a map of the galaxy. He had worked his whole life to protect Earth, and now his job was about to get much harder. Alien ships had already been moving into position across the galaxy. Who knew what the reaction would be from the other species? The Galactic Council was not known for taking kindly to anyone who challenged its authority. This wasn't just a political move, it was a declaration of war in some eyes in the Galactic Council chambers. Chaos erupted after President Richardson's speech. Alien leaders scrambled to discuss the implications of Earth's decision. For the first time in decades, the powerful beings who made up the Council found themselves powerless. The human race, once a relatively small player on the galactic stage, had just severed ties with them. The galaxy was in turmoil. Ambassador Clara, a member of the VRX species, stood from her seat. This is an unprecedented move. She said, Earth is no longer under our control. They've shown us that we are no longer their rulers. What does this mean for the rest of us? Council leader Ray Turok, an imposing figure from the insectoid frac race, looked at the holographic display of Earth's borders. The human planet was alone now, surrounded by vast space. It was clear to him that Earth had prepared for this day for a long time. We need to send a message, Turok said. Let's remind them why they need us. But not everyone in the Council agreed. Some, like Ambassador Clara, argued that Earth's decision should be respected. We cannot force them back into the fold, she warned. We should approach this with caution. What if they have new capabilities we don't know about? The debate raged on. There were calls for immediate retaliation and others advocating for peace. But all the Council could agree on was that they had underestimated humanity. No one had seen this coming. Back on Earth, President Richardson and General Monroe met to discuss their next steps. The decision to sever ties was just the beginning. Now, they had to prepare for the unknown consequences. They had no idea what the galaxy would throw at them, but they knew Earth was ready. They had worked quietly in the background for years, building technology that far exceeded anything the galaxy had ever seen. As President Richardson sat at her desk, looking at a map of the stars, she spoke softly, more to herself than to Monroe. "We've always been underestimated. Maybe it's time they learned who we really are." Monroe nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Let them come. We're ready." And so, with Earth's decision made, the galaxy watched in fear and uncertainty. The universe had just entered a new chapter, and no one knew how the story would end. The news of Earth's sudden decision sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Planets from all corners of the universe quickly sent their representatives to discuss the growing crisis. The Galactic Council had been caught off guard. No one, not even the most experienced diplomats, had foreseen this. But Earth had done it, had cut itself off from the Council, leaving the galaxy unsure of what would happen next. Back on Earth, the people were divided. Some cheered in support of President Anna Richardson's bold decision. They believed that humanity should stand alone and not be controlled by a larger galactic body that didn't understand their needs. Others, however, were filled with fear. What would this mean for their safety? Would Earth be able to defend itself against the powerful alien fleets? These questions filled every conversation, from quiet coffee shops to the bustling streets of the cities. General Jackson Monroe, who had led Earth's military for over a decade, was one of the few who wasn't surprised by the president's move. He had been preparing for something like this for years. As he sat in his office looking at the star maps, he wasn't just worried about Earth's immediate future, he was concerned about the unknown. He knew that Earth had become a significant power, but he also knew that many in the galaxy viewed humanity as a dangerous, unpredictable species. Monroe's fears weren't misplaced. While Earth had kept its technological advances a secret, rumors of new weapons began to spread. Some reports claimed that humanity had developed technology that could level entire fleets in an instant. Others spoke of a mysterious ship, one so powerful that it could wipe out an entire planet with a single strike. "Do we know anything about these rumors?" President Richardson asked as she entered Monroe's office. She was calm, but Monroe could tell she was deep in thought. "Is Earth really ready for this?" "We're as ready as we can be, Madam President," Monroe replied, his voice steady but filled with concern. "But no one knows what we're up against. I've been in contact with our allies, those who remain loyal. They're scared. Rest of the galaxy isn't sure how to handle us. It's only a matter of time before something happens." Richardson looked out the window, her eyes lost in thought. "We've always been underestimated. Maybe now they'll understand that we're not just some small planet anymore. We have the power to make a real difference." Monroe nodded but remained silent. He knew that while Earth might have the potential to hold its own, the galaxy was vast, and the unknown species they would face could be just as powerful, if not more. The thought of facing entire fleets of alien ships sent a chill down his spine, but it was too late to turn back now. The decision had been made. Across the galaxy, fear was spreading like wildfire. Some species, who had long resented humanity for their rapid rise in power, saw Earth's withdrawal as an opportunity. There were whispers that the Zinther, a powerful race known for their aggressive tendencies, had already begun mobilizing their fleet, preparing for a possible confrontation. The Zinther had a reputation for being ruthless, and they had always believed that the galaxy should be governed by the strongest something Earth was quickly becoming. The viewership, another race that had long been allies with Earth, were also concerned. Ambassador Tlara, a trusted diplomat, and one of the few who had ever truly understood humans, had a sinking feeling in her gut. She knew that Earth's decision could be the beginning of a larger galactic conflict. Tlara sat in her private chambers, studying the data sent by the Council. The reports on Earth's military were vague at best, but one thing was clear. They had developed something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. It was just a matter of time before the Council would have to make a decision. Should they push Earth back into the fold or let them remain independent? Either way, the Council was walking a fine line. Talara's thoughts were interrupted by a message flashing across her console. It was from her homeworld. She read the message, her heart sinking as she realized that the Viewership had been called into an emergency meeting to discuss their position on Earth's withdrawal. The galaxy was on the edge of war, and no one knew where the first shots would come from. The Zinther fleet, already making its way towards Earth's space, had been given orders to prepare for an offensive. They believed that Earth's departure from the Council was a sign of weakness, an invitation for them to take control. As the fleet moved closer to Earth's borders, the Zinther warships prepared their weapon systems. The Zinther had no intention of negotiating or waiting for peace talks. They were coming for Earth, and they would take what they wanted. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the military was on high alert. General Monroe ordered the deployment of Earth's most powerful warships to patrol the outer edges of their space. Had already prepared for the worst. If the Zinther or any other species made a move, Earth would defend itself with everything they had. Monroe's confidence in his forces was unshakable, but even he knew that the coming days would determine whether humanity would survive as an independent power or be crushed by the weight of the galaxy's fear. As the fleet of Zinther ships grew closer, the tension on Earth only grew stronger. The first signs of the coming conflict were just beginning to show. And while the rest of the galaxy watched with uncertainty, Earth was preparing for a battle that would change everything. The news of Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council spread quickly across the galaxy. The first reaction was shock, followed by confusion. Most of the galaxy's inhabitants had grown accustomed to Earth's presence in the Council, its influence slowly growing stronger with each passing year. No one had expected Earth to turn its back on the Council. But now, humanity was standing alone. The rest of the galaxy wasn't sure what to make of it. Back on Earth, things were different. While President Anna Richardson's announcement had sparked mixed feelings among Earth's citizens, General Jackson Monroe and his military advisors were already preparing for what could come next. Earth had been a peaceful planet for centuries, yet it had never been naive. Now, the weight of that decision was starting to hit home. The galaxy wasn't just going to sit by and let Earth's move go unchallenged. Tensions were rising quickly. The Council had responded with an emergency session. Every representative from the powerful alien species that made up the Galactic Council gathered to discuss the situation. While some argued that Earth's move should be respected, others saw it as a challenge to their power. The Council, once a united front, was now divided. Some wanted to approach Earth diplomatically, while others were eager to crush the perceived rebellion. Ambassador Clara, respected member of the Viewership species and Earth's former ally, sat in her chamber, deep in thought. She had always respected Earth's leaders, especially President Richardson. But she was beginning to fear that the galaxy had underestimated humanity. Earth's power, once thought to be insignificant, was now something the galaxy couldn't ignore. Clara knew that the Viewership were ready to move against Earth if things escalated. The Zinther, however, were a different story. They had always been quick to act when it came to seizing power, and Talara feared they would be the first to strike. The Viewership had their own fleet, but it wasn't as large or as advanced as the Zinthers. A message flashed across Clara's console. It was from the Zinther fleet, which had now crossed into the outer reaches of Earth space. The message was simple: prepare for confrontation. We will claim what is rightfully ours. The Zinther had made their move, and it was clear. They weren't interested in negotiation. Back on Earth, General Monroe gathered with his top military officers. As the head of the Earth Defense Forces, Monroe knew what was at stake. He had spent years training his soldiers and building Earth's military power, but now it was time to see if it would be enough. We knew this day might come, Monroe said, his voice steady but filled with urgency. The Zinther are not going to wait for a peaceful solution. We need to prepare for war, deploy the fleet. In the next few hours, Earth's defenses were set in motion. Warships, once considered part of Earth's secret weapons program, were brought out of hidden docks and readied for battle. The human fleet was small compared to the massive armadas of the galaxy's other superpowers, but it was highly advanced. Earth had invested in technology that far exceeded what anyone had expected, and the world now had its chance to show it. As the fleet of Xinther warships approached, the humans were ready. Earth's warships, armed with energy shields and advanced laser weapons, formed a defensive line around the planet. Monroe and President Richardson stood together, watching the first images of the incoming Xinther ships. The massive insectoid ships loomed on the view screen, their dark, sharp outlines cutting through space like predators hunting their prey. Monroe's eyes narrowed. We've come a long way, but the Xinther don't care about diplomacy. They believe in force, and they believe they can take whatever they want. Richardson turned to him, her face firm. Then we'll show them what they're up against. They're not the only ones who know how to fight. The tension between the two fleets was unbearable. The first shots were fired from the Xinther ships, and the energy beams exploded into the space around Earth's defenses. The humans retaliated swiftly, their weapons lighting up the dark expanse. The battle had begun. News of the conflict spread quickly, and the galaxy watched with a mixture of fear and awe. Earth, once considered a mere newcomer on the galactic stage, was holding its own against one of the most feared fleets in the galaxy. The council, now split into factions, had no clear plan on how to handle the situation. While some species prepared for war, others questioned if they should step in to prevent further escalation. Ambassador Talera, watching from her command station, knew that this conflict would change everything. She could feel the weight of what was happening. Earth had chosen to sever its ties with the galaxy, and now it was fighting for its future. The Xinther might have been the first to act. They wouldn't be the last. For the first time, the universe understood just how dangerous humanity could be. Earth was no longer a minor player in the galaxy. It had proven itself strong and determined. The question now was how far Earth would go to protect its sovereignty, and whether the galaxy would ever look at humanity the same way again. The galaxy was in chaos. For days, Earth and the Xinther had fought in a battle that had captured the attention of every species in the galaxy. The Xinther, aggressive and ruthless, had underestimated Earth's strength. But the humans had more surprises in store. They had only just begun to reveal the full extent of their power. The first wave of Earth's new fleet had been successful in holding back the Xinther. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. General Jackson Monroe paced in his command center, looking at the map of Earth's defense lines. The Xinther fleet was massive, and while Earth had made progress, the battle was far from over. Monroe knew that the humans had one advantage: their technology. What they lacked in numbers, they made up for with incredible firepower and clever tactics. We can't keep this up forever, Monroe muttered to himself. We need to show them what we've really got. Back on Earth, President Anna Richardson prepared for the most important decision of her life. She had already made the choice to sever ties with the Galactic Council, and now she had to decide how far she was willing to go to defend humanity's future. The Xinther were only the first challenge. If Earth was to truly be independent, it would have to prove itself to the entire galaxy. In a quiet room, Richardson met with Monroe and a few trusted advisors. "It's time," she said. "We've been keeping our most powerful weapons hidden for too long. It's time to show the galaxy that we won't be pushed around anymore." Monroe nodded. "We've developed weapons that can change the course of this war. But we must be careful. Once we reveal them, there's no going back." "I know," Richardson replied. "But we can't keep hiding our strength. It's now or never." Outside, the human fleet was ready. Thousands of ships had been deployed. But the true power of Earth's military had been kept secret. The most advanced weapon humanity had developed was a massive warship, one unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was the final piece of Earth's plan, and now it was time to bring it into the fight. General Monroe gave the order. The massive warship, known as the Genesis, was launched from its hidden base and sent into space. It was a giant, almost impossible to believe it had been built by humans, armed with a new type of energy weapon capable of decimating entire fleets. The Genesis was Earth's trump card. As it entered the battlefield, the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The Xinther ships, which had been advancing toward Earth's defenses, suddenly halted. The Genesis appeared as a dark, imposing figure on the horizon, its weapons charged and ready. The rest of Earth's fleet moved into position around it, creating a protective barrier. The Zinther fleet leader, Captain Zorak, watched in disbelief. "What is that?" he asked, his voice a low growl. One of his commanders responded, "We have never seen anything like it. It's larger than any ship we've ever encountered." Captain Zorak's eyes narrowed. "Whatever it is, we will destroy it." But the Zinther had underestimated the power of humanity's newest creation. The Genesis fired its first shot, and the entire battlefield was lit up with a blinding light. A beam of concentrated energy shot out from the warship, striking the lead Zinther ship with incredible force. The ship exploded into a cloud of debris, its pieces scattered across the stars. The Zinther fleet was stunned. The humans didn't. "Stop there." The Genesis continued to fire, its energy beams cutting through Zinther ships like a hot knife through butter. The Zinther, who had always relied on their overwhelming numbers, found themselves at a severe disadvantage. The humans had shown them that strength wasn't always about numbers. It was about technology, strategy, and willpower. As the Zinther fleet began to retreat, a message was sent out to the galaxy. It was from President Anna Richardson. "Galactic Council, hear this. We will no longer bow to your rules. We will no longer be controlled. We have the power to defend ourselves, and we will not back down. This is your warning. If you choose to challenge us, know that we are ready. Humanity has awakened, and we will protect our home." The message echoed across the galaxy, and the response was immediate. Some species, terrified of the Genesis and its power, began to back down. They realized that Earth was no longer a vulnerable planet that could be pushed around. The humans had shown them their strength, and now the galaxy had no choice but to respect it. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the people watched as the news spread. There were celebrations in the streets as the first victory in humanity's new era was achieved. But President Richardson knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy would not simply accept Earth's rise without resistance. The Council would regroup, and other races might challenge humanity's independence. But for now, Earth had proven one thing. It was not to be underestimated. And for the first time in galactic history, the balance of power had shifted. The message from President Anna Richardson had sent ripples through the galaxy. Humanity had drawn a line in the sand, and now the universe was unsure what to do next. The Zinther fleet had retreated after their devastating defeat, and Earth's power was on full display. The Genesis warship, the symbol of humanity's strength, was now a legend in the making. Across the galaxy, there were many who still refused to believe the full scale of humanity's capabilities. Some races, especially the council members who had once looked down on Earth, had hoped that the humans would simply back down after their first victory. They underestimated how far President Richardson and General Monroe were willing to go. In the council chambers, leaders from various races gathered in emergency meetings. The Galactic Council was in disarray. No one could have predicted the rapid rise of Earth, and the fear of a new power in the galaxy was growing. They had failed to control the humans, and now they were questioning their own authority. The galaxy was no longer as united as it had once been. The Zinther were angry and humiliated, but they were not the only ones who wanted revenge. Many other races saw Earth's actions as a challenge to the established order, and they were ready to act. Ambassador Tlara, who had always believed in peaceful diplomacy, sat in a darkened room in the Viewership embassy. She couldn't believe how quickly the situation had escalated. What had started as a political move had turned into a full-blown war. Tlara had always trusted that the Council would maintain peace, but now she wasn't so sure. The galaxy's unity had been shattered. Earth was at the center of it all. As the days passed, Earth's victory over the Zinther began to sink in, while the rest of the galaxy watched in silence, unsure of what would happen next. Warships continued to dominate, or would the galaxy rally together to stop them? Some species, especially those who had been allies of Earth, remained hopeful. They believed that Earth's strength could be the key to changing the way the galaxy operated. But others were preparing for the worst. On Earth, life continued as Normal, despite the tensions. People went about their daily routines, but there was a sense of uncertainty hanging in the air. The victory over the Zinther had been significant, but President Richardson knew that it was only the beginning. Earth had shown its strength, but now they had to be ready for what the galaxy would throw at them. General Monroe, standing in the command center, stared at the large screen displaying various fleet movements across the galaxy. The Genesis warship was still in position, along with the rest of Earth's fleet. They had not backed down. The ships were ready, but Monroe's mind was occupied with one thought. How long would this last? "Do you think they'll retaliate?" asked Captain Lyle, one of Monroe's most trusted officers. He watched as the fleet formations moved on. The screen, the threat of more alien ships looming in the distance. Monroe didn't answer immediately. He simply studied the movements, his mind racing through possible scenarios. "They will," he said quietly. "We've shaken the galaxy to its core, but they'll be careful. They know we're not like before. The question is, will they come for us now?" As if on cue, an alert flashed on the screen. "General Monroe," an officer called out, "a fleet of unknown ships is approaching Earth's space." Monroe turned sharply, his eyes focused. "Unknown ships? What species?" "We don't know yet, sir. But they're large, and they're moving fast." Monroe's heart raced. He had expected retaliation, but he hadn't anticipated an unknown force. Was this the Council's response? Or were there other species in the galaxy who had decided that Earth's power could not be allowed to grow any further? President Richardson was immediately informed of the new threat. She wasted no time. "Prepare Earth's defenses. I want all warships in position. They're coming for us. They'll have to get through us first." The ships gathered, forming a defensive perimeter. Around Earth's borders, the Genesis was in position, and the rest of Earth's fleet followed closely behind. The unknown fleet had yet to identify itself, but the humans were prepared for anything. As the ships grew closer, they revealed their true nature. "There. Not from the Council," the officer reported. "These ships... They look like something out of ancient history." Monroe's eyes narrowed. "Ancient history?" "They're similar to old warships, but their technology... It's unlike anything we've seen before." The unknown fleet came into full view, and Monroe's stomach dropped. The ships were unlike any the humans had ever encountered. Were massive, dark, and heavily armed. Their designs were archaic, but powerful, and the weapons they carried were clearly meant for destruction. Whoever these beings were, they were not playing around. President Richardson stood beside Monroe, watching as the enemy fleet grew closer. "Do we have a name for them?" she asked, her voice steady but serious. "Not yet, ma'am," the officer replied, "but we'll find out soon enough." Monroe clenched his fists. "We'll show them what happens when they mess with Earth." The tension between the two fleets was palpable. The unknown ships were getting closer by the second, and everyone on Earth's side was ready for whatever was coming next. The galaxy had underestimated humanity before, but Earth wasn't going to give up its independence without a fight. As the unknown fleet moved closer, Earth's ships prepared for battle. The galaxy was watching, and Earth was about to show the universe that it wasn't just a peaceful planet, it was a force to be reckoned with.